Right now, we are seeing so many different things happen in our industry. It feels like the real estate industry is under attack. With mergers and acquisitions, we're seeing companies combine, lawsuits taking on the largest lobbying organization in the United States. We're seeing so many different changes in how we do what we do, what our business looks like. And let's not even mention the future with technology. This is talking about people and their influence and what that means for the future of our industry and real estate. So on today's episode of Sit Down with Sam, I can't tell you how excited I am to bring on our guest. He is Grigory Pekarsky from Vesta Preferred, and I remember back when I would see him running around the West Loop. He was dealing with rentals and building his business, and now I've seen him grow that to be the #1 team in Illinois, and his company is no short of accolades. It did, I think last year it was like $280 million with only 30 agents, so a very impressive business model. Great guy. I think you're going to love what he has to say. He's got a lot to say. He says it very well. And I think that with today's episode, if you don't know who he is, you're probably going to be seeking him out afterwards. So let's jump right in. All right. I'm excited for today's episode. And I know I say that a lot, but I am truly pumped, jacked, I think were some of the words as we were talking a little bit before the show. Today's guest is someone who is very successful, not only in the real estate scene, but just overall in building in our community and doing some great things with bringing real estate to help others, building an amazing company, a fiery personality, which I think you're going to see. So I'm not going to ruin it for you. Without further ado, I just want to jump in, introduce our guest, Grigory Pekarsky, Vesta Preferred. If you don't know him, I think you're going to even take more away from this episode as you get to know him. But why don't we hear from the man, the myth, the legend himself, and he can tell us a little bit about who he is. Grigory, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Sam, for having me. First, congratulations. I think you're the first one to actually say my name correctly from the first go.
I practiced.
Yeah. It's not easy. I mess it up sometimes too. Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. So my name is Grigory Pekarsky. I am the co-owner of Vesta Preferred. I'm the team lead of the Vesta team. As of last year, we are the #1 mega team in the state of Illinois for units sold. We were founded in 2009.
Wow.
We're on like our 16th year here.
That's an interesting time to get in the business too.
Yeah, it certainly was. There's a lot of young brashness and stubbornness that went along with that decision, but here we are.
Okay.
But I started in the rental space, right? So like the way that I got into real estate is through rentals. We learned high volume selling. We've never steered away from systematic approach to real estate, high touch quality service, right? One of the best things that I love to say is we're the #1 rated company for real estate online.
Oh, wow.
You have the 5 stars on Yelp, you have 5 stars on Google. Like the persona and the way that people see us is everything, right? Like it's about how we service clients, making sure that we're the #1 most trusted brand in real estate. I think that is like what we strive for every single day, outside of all of the things that we try to do and help with our agents. All of the successes we've had, the hockey stick moment that in growth we had last year, going from 130 to 280. This year we're going to surpass 400, possibly 500 million. All of that wouldn't matter.
Let's not just glaze over that like that's nothing. We're talking about, at the time of recording this, talking about would have been a few of the most challenging years in real estate. 23 years of doing this, the most challenging that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you had a hockey stick moment during those times.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's very simple. We found our mantra and our flow of how we want to run our real estate business. It came out and we started this new team about 4 years ago.
Okay.
The new team model. And it circled all around of what we're great at. And it's about heightening efficiencies in your everyday workflow. So you need 3 things to be successful in real estate. You need leads, you need systems, and you need accountability.
Okay.
And we're hyper-focused on every one of those elements. And then once we figured out every one of those elements, we then turned to the type of avatar that can work well in our system. And the type of agent that we look for has 2 core elements and 1 sub-element. First, best-in-class attitude. Success, the formula of success, the pie goes like this. 70% of your success formula is attitude-based,
Okay.
right? That's everything. And I can't teach that to you. Either you got it or you don't. Number 1. Number 2 is work ethic. That's 20% of the formula. So either You're going to be a good hard worker or you're not. I can't teach you. Now you're at 90% of the success formula that I can't teach you. So I'm only looking at the last piece, which is the subcategory. It is the humility in the human being. Are you ego-driven or are you confidence-driven? Are you really, really great at what you are already? How do I need to make you great? I do not turn anybody great. I look for great people in the wrong environment, put them in the right one. And all we do is we work on technique and give them everything else, all the resources and tools they need to succeed. And that is how we minimally 3 to 5 agents businesses the first year. Without a doubt, it's been proven. We do it every single time.
It's funny because I know you believe this. I know that, what do they say? If you tell the truth, you never have to remember what you say. And when I think about everything that you just said, that 10%, when you're talking about the 10% that you're teaching and you're going through, I talk to people about this all the time. And I talk about how when you learn and you understand what you're doing, you can speak confidently. Right? They say if you want to actually understand something, try to teach someone what it is that you learn. And I can tell in your description of this is something you obviously believe in, understand, and you've talked through from the beginning to the end. Your conviction is obviously right out there, and I don't think anyone would question that. And you said in 2009, so you got into this business in 2009. This is you and your partner, correct? And
Brad
you
Robbins,
started in the rental space.
We started. So the way that the whole thing started, I went to Michigan State for veterinary medicine. Okay. So I wanted to be a vet. I realized by the end of as I was about to become a vet, I love animals. I don't love the necessarily becoming a veterinarian.
Okay.
And it really did come down to, unfortunately, income. Right. Like I have a lot of my closest friends that I was in the come up in those initial kind of medical classes, things like that. One of them is like literally heading, Duke's medical thing. My other buddy, he's like massive emergency surgeon out in Seattle. Like there's all like they're extremely accomplished people. We all started at the very kind of baseline. And when we were kind of looking at the trajectory of where their business or company and like their future was going versus mine, I realized, unfortunately, I love the passion for animals, but I always wanted to become successful very, very quickly. And I needed to go through a lot more classes. And listen, like becoming a surgeon and doing that, it is one of the hardest, most challenging, most rewarding things somebody can do.
For sure.
Like I didn't have that conviction in the beginning. And you have to know that this is what you want to do until the end, right? And so for me, I was like, I started a lot of businesses when I grew up. I still remember walking around my neighborhood when I was 9 years old asking if I could rake leaves for $5, right? Like, and it just was something about creating something out of nothing, creating value from nowhere that always just got me excited. I didn't realize what came from. I mean, I'm an immigrant, right? My parents came from nothing. We came here in 89, 90 with 8 suitcases, $500 to our name. So that like grind mentality just has been ingrained in me. But I say all that because when I went to college to become a vet, I then finished with finance. I didn't know what I was going to do. I actually got recruited by a real estate company out of Chicago. And I was like, well, I came to Chicago a few times to enjoy my New Year's Eve festivities, let's call them. That was my, like, literally
it's a good city for that.
Yeah, fantastic. But that was my only knowledge of Chicago. Okay. So I moved here in 2008, January. I still remember how cold it was. It was dark. I didn't know what I was doing. But I just, and in 2008, right? Real estate was like on fire. It was a dumpster fire.
Right.
But the only thing that was successful was rentals. And I just, by luck and by virtue of fate, I landed in a company that only focused on rentals. And I think the best city to do rentals with the best inventory, with a ton of people moving in. So I really busted my chops and figured out real estate, and probably the best sector and the only sector at the time that I could have done that. So like by virtue, by fate, by luck, I kind of found my footing. And then 6 months into the game, I started to get my speed going. I figured out how to multiply my time. And then a year later, Vesta was founded.
I love it. And I know you going into this, you said, unfortunately, it was because financial reasons. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that you're in a position where as you start to look at that, and I don't know a lot about being a veterinarian.
Yeah.
But I will say that
Me neither, actually.
Maybe it's best that you didn't go that route. But the financial cap on what you can make in that industry, I mean, it's great that you're able to look at that. I mean, you mentioned some of your friends who were accomplished and did all these different things. They were on a different path. And you looked at this from a financial perspective and said, what I want needs to come from somewhere else because I'm not going to be able to get that here. And that's I think that's hard to face, but it's really, I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking about things that way. Yeah. As long as you're still helping animals in this case.
Well, that's my thing. Is like we always try to rescue shelter animals. I like to be like donate. I can always own vet clinics. You know, I have these ideas that I want to be like, you know, still a financial backer. I can still become, and I always said that, like, I can always be an integral part of that community. I don't have to work in that community to be a part of that, right?
You still serve that community,
Exactly.
but it doesn't have to be the focus of that.
That's exactly right.
I love that. And I know we got so many things to talk about today that we're going to jump through. But before we move on past that, something actually, I'd like to ask you this question because it's something I think about a lot myself. And I've been thinking about a lot myself. Hitting that number one spot.
Yeah.
Now I've done this. Again, 23 years of doing this. I've held that number one position for multiple years in my field.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when you meet someone who's a leader, who's driven, now it's fairly easy to track the timeline on how they got there.
Okay.
Right? Like you said, you come from immigrant parents.
Yeah.
I'm in a position, I grew up very poor, you know, so there's this almost for me is like a proverbial chip, maybe a literal chip on my shoulder to try and prove something. We call this from the dark side of motivation in a way. But what I find, and I say this about like blues musicians, you don't find a lot of really great, rich blues musicians writing great songs anymore. And I could be wrong on them. I'm sure hopefully someone can prove me wrong on that. But it seems like once you get to a certain level of success, you can lose that drive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now you've taken that number one position. What's next? What are the goals? And how are you going to keep bringing to that the same fire that led you to be successful and continue to build past that? Or is that even something you're interested in doing?
So I'll answer that question by asking, what's my team name?
Vesta Preferred, right?
It's not the Grigory Pekarsky team, buddy.
No, it's not.
It's all about my team. That's it. So my motivation is legacy. It's not about money. Brad and I, we already said to each other, we have enough money at this moment to be happy and, you know, chill.
Okay.
I don't need more. So now what are we doing, right? And what is that motivation drive? Well, first, there's only one singular focus right now at Vesta, and that's to become the first $1 billion team in Illinois by 2027. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Why is that the singular focus? Because all I do every single day is I look for the most ambitious, the most driven, the best people in real estate to come work with us, to build something incredible. Okay. We want to be a house of greatness. If you come into Vesta, you cannot leave sad, down, or depressed. It is a net positive environment. And I say that because everything we do is about building together. And Brad and I, we get excited about an agent's life changing in front of our eyes, seeing somebody that we know's got it, putting them in our system, and they create such an income base, such an incredible business behind them, that their lives change, the person changes, and we see that transformation. It's almost like they come in a chrysalis form, and they leave this beautiful butterfly.
I love it.
And I'm not saying my girls just, I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. My 4-year-old just got these butterflies that you see them from a little larva, and they turn into chrysalis. It was amazing.
I have seen this, yeah.
It's Vesta Preferred, baby.
6-year-old and an 8-year-old. I've seen this.
It's amazing. So why is my drive never going to go away? Because it doesn't matter about the money, man.
Okay.
It's about that legacy. It's about growing something. It's about proving everyone that all of that they say, all that stuff they talk to me about, all of that thing, the negativity, you can't do this. You can't start a company in 08. You can't do real estate in 08.
Right.
I had one of the biggest owners of a real estate company last year call me, and he says, Greg, you know you can't do a $1 billion team without me, right? And I asked him, how many people told you that when you started your company? He said, none. I said, thank you for the motivation. Yeah. That's the drive, man. That's it. That's fun. That's what it's all about. It's just a game. It's what it is. But you're changing lives. You maintain high customer satisfaction. And that feeling of true completion inside of me, every single night I go to sleep like a baby because I know I treated people the right way. I didn't screw anybody over, and I'm changing lives. That's it. That's what it's about.
I think that's a great answer. I love the fact, looking at that, what I take away from it when I hear you explain it and that description, it's basically, it's because it's not just about you, right? And of course, I think in everything we do, we're always going to have that bit of self-motivation. And,
of course.
And that's the way it goes. But ultimately underneath that, you're changing lives for the people in your group and the people that you're working with. And now instead of being driven on changing your own life, because in the earlier example, once you find success, you've changed your life. Yep. So now what? Well, now you're finding that focus on changing other people's lives. That's an amazing idea, and I'm gonna steal that from you. And use that.
Just makes it a better world, man.
Yeah, it's also a perfect segue because change and changing lives is something we're seeing right now. Again, 23 years in this business. And we are seeing more disruption in our industry. I'll use the buzzword disruption, disruptors. I know that's a thing, but we're seeing more going on in the past few years than I have seen over the course of my career.
Yeah.
Now, I will say on the mortgage side, on the lending side, I remember I was working at a company called Professional Mortgage Partners, not around anymore, right? And this was only the first time I'd worked at a company. I had my own company before that. And I remember things were going well. This is after going into the crash, right? During those times were very difficult. Now, I have to tell you, I feel almost guilty saying this, but I was doing very well during that. I was doing a ton of purchase business because people were getting out of the industry and they needed someone to turn to. So, we kept focusing, we stayed stuck to it. But I'll always remember when our company, merged with Wintrust Financial. Wintrust Financial stepped in. There was another company, and I'll probably get this wrong. It was like American West. They took Professional Mortgage Partners, which I considered to be an amazing company. Honestly, had this not happened, I probably never would have left this company. It was great. Barton Pitts, who was running the show, I loved that guy. Great person. But I just remember when this merger and acquisition kind of came into play, we're going to form this different company. Well, right now, although I'm used to seeing that in the lending world, I haven't seen anything like what we're starting to experience. We have, at the time of this recording right now, we've got companies coming in. Compass is obviously on a mission. They have been they acquired one of our largest brokerages here in Illinois, right? And a powerhouse in our scene with that properties. I know there was the rumors talking about them with Berkshire.
Yeah.
I still think that's going to happen, actually. I think it just came out too soon, so it's being pushed away. Recently, we saw on our side of things, Rocket Mortgage went and they've acquired Redfin. The servicing company now acquired Guild Mortgage. So we're starting to see this consolidation.
With Mr. Cooper.
Big one. That's huge. And what you're seeing is this focus on we're going to follow the client, right? So servicing is big. Mortgage servicing wants to follow the client. And when you look at that, that starts with the leads. It starts with the client after they close or when they close, and then after they close, and then servicing thereafter. So there's this huge, huge consolidation. What does that mean for a company like Vesta, right? Like in your position right now, first and foremost, what do you think about what's happening in our landscape right now? And then can you speak to what does that mean for a company like yours?
Yeah, so I'll speak that private equity's taken over real estate, right?
Yeah.
So the heart's gone. It's right out the window, right? You have the biggest company that is buying everybody left and right, and it's run by a guy that's never sold a piece of real estate.
Right.
Think about that. My first company that I worked at taught me one very big lesson, is that you never want to work for a boss, you want to work for a mentor. And my boss never sold the real estate that I was selling. Okay. So his just understanding of how the process goes and what the client actually needs, he would come up to me and tell me things, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
He doesn't get it.
Yeah. And it's an unfortunate time because private equity, they saw an opportunity to sink their fangs into the industry because NAR lost its lawsuit last year. It's on its heels. It's got bad press. And unfortunately, instead of hoping that we can come together, because real estate's always about, let's do this together. It's an amazing community of individuals that want to help each other. They're going for the throat. They want to tear it all down. And they're calling it in front of, this is best for the consumer and consumer interest or whatever.
Right.
And they're like, Zillow, it's a big monopoly. We don't want monopolies. What do you think you're doing?
Right.
You just want the monopoly and you're pretending like it's in consumer interest.
Do you not want monopolies, or you just want to be the one who has the monopoly?
That.
Okay.
So, and it's like, listen, I've been in this long enough. I know exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it. And they're doing it at a time where they see the National Association as it's being weak and it's weakened. And a lot of, honestly, I was so involved in the National Association, I'll tell you one thing, realtors don't have no idea what that National Association does. And unfortunately, that's one of the main reasons it lost the lawsuit last year, and why realtors are not necessarily not backing the big company that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Or backing them and not backing NAR. Like NAR just won massively when it comes to all of in the new tax plan, like all of the benefits they got, lobbying efforts for home ownership interest, things like that. That company's not doing that. They're not doing anything for the consumer, nothing like that. So for me, it's like it's a dangerous time for the consumer, because I'm all about the experience. I'm all about making sure people are serviced right. And when they're told by the loudest person in the room how to think, unfortunately, it's not sometimes the right way to think, right?
Right.
They just built an incredible megaphone, and I got to applaud them on understanding how to be able to give that message, because as long as you're the loudest person in the room, for the most part, consumers listen to that voice. And the other side, like the NAR, it doesn't have a really big voice. I think there's not a singular person talking. There's not a singular person talking on the other side. I mean, there's some people that are kind of rising up, but there needs to be a bigger debate on what's actually happening in our industry. Now, I do see the consolidation happening because it is a singular chain now. How can you take people from the moment they're searching to the moment that they need to, find a house, to mortgages, all that stuff? There's a lot of money in that chain. And unfortunately, there are a lot of realtors that probably they don't deserve the amount of money that they make. I do agree with that, because 100%. There's a lot of bad servicing that's going on out there, which has allowed for a company like Redfin to come in. They're discount brokers. They just are. I say whatever it is. They have these. The realtors are on salary. I'm sorry, like it's just what it is. Like they're Uber drivers of real estate, right? It just is what it is.
Okay.
They've built a great company. Don't get me wrong.
For sure.
But they're a discount company. So it's allowed for these entry points for these types of companies to be able to come in and say, hey, I'll give you $1,500. Will you come work with me? And unfortunately, people are willing to step over dollars to pick up pennies. They just are. You throw something like that in their face, they're going to work with you. All that being said and done is that now it's like, who's going to win the singular chain? I don't think there's going to be one winner. I think there's going to be, probably fans built around, there's going to be a high-end servicing. There'll be kind of middle servicing. There'll be cheap servicing, all of that stuff. It's going to be just like normal, regular stuff. Where do we fall into place? I think it's massive opportunity for us, just like the clear cooperation, just like the exclusive agreements, all of that stuff, right? Like we're the first to move. We're nimble,
okay.
And we were able to understand how to use exclusive agreements to be able to qualify our clients better, to give them better servicing, to better understand how we can close homes faster for the right type of buyer and give them the right focus, right?
Right.
That's just one example of how we've been able to use a big industry change to be able to now, we're the number one representative of anybody coming into Chicago, period. We open more doors than anybody else for any buyer coming into the city, right? And it's because we've understood the flow of how people look and search. Now, Zillow, for example, right?
Yes.
They have massive market share. I mean, no one even comes close. So if there's
built
any sort of
something so impressive,
and everyone's like, but they're a brokerage. They're not a brokerage. They have a license to be able to get their referral commissions. But the best thing about them is they find the best brokers that are the most efficient at servicing clients, us, to be able to then help and convert them at the highest clip, so consumers are happier. They have a real choice on who they can work with, because now it's across the board of who's the best out there. And so Zillow just has this, like, they understand they're consumer first. They care about that experience, right? So like now it's going to be, yes, a channel drive, who can do it the best. And unfortunately, some people think that the best way to do it is by closing up their walls and only having exclusively inside of their industry, inside of their brokerage. And all I say is, like, how are you going to present it to a seller where if the number one buying representative team can't show your listings, how are you going to tell your seller that you can get them the best price? I don't understand that mindset.
Right.
But that conversation isn't happening enough, and I plan to be a little louder about it.
I think it's good that you'll be louder about it. You obviously have some strong and I think valid and interesting opinions on this. So and I will say, so if we were in a boxing match and you were to pick and it was Compass versus Zillow, you're on Zillow's side right now.
It's not even a match.
Not even a match. Okay. So I was thinking about this in that chain, that singular chain, because I had a very interesting conversation. It was back in 2018 with the owner of a large mortgage company, and he was talking about what's going on right now. He said this is where he predicted the industry was going to go. And he said in the future, there's only going to be 3 to 5 different companies, and they're going to be banks, and they're going to own the real estate, the title, California. So he said solar, basically talked about all the different avenues that went through in that chain, because there's a lot of money in that chain. And from his approach, he said what they're going to do to eliminate the competition is they're going to take that chain and they're going to take all that money in that chain, and then they're going to discount it by making sure everyone can get it from one source. And his idea was to focus on it being quality. He wasn't trying to sell short on quality. He's a very smart guy, one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he just said, if there's an 11% margin on real estate and we can do it for 6, then we're going to have an unfair advantage. I thought, I could see that. I could see how this would go that way. So now putting that into context with what we're seeing right now, company like Compass, right? If they're coming out and they say, okay, and for those who are not aware, there's a big debate between Compass and Zillow. Compass wants to be able to list and market their properties privately. So if they choose to do so, they can say, you can only access these through our coming soon. And they started doing this before they started talking about it. I know this because I would send out pre-approvals for clients. I get these all weekend, right? And all of a sudden I couldn't find the property on Redfin. Guilty as charged. I use it all the time to find the data quick.
Sure, I mean, it's a great tool.
Right.
I'm not
their data's
denying
accurate.
that.
Their tax bills are right.
There's a reason why people use them. I get it.
So I would find it. I'd be like, wait, it's not on Redfin. It's not on Zillow. It's not on anywhere. And all of a sudden it would come up on Compass's site, coming soon.
Yeah.
So Compass is saying they want to lean in to be able to privately market their properties, which they're saying is the best for the consumer. And then on the flip side of things, now you have Zillow. They obviously don't like that because Zillow's business model has been based off of showing properties that are for sale. So basically, Compass is saying, we're going to take away inventory from you.
Mm-hmm.
So now going back to that idea of that chain and cutting out a discount, what does that look like when you have a company like Compass, Rocket Mortgage? I mean, Rocket Mortgage is a powerhouse. And they consolidate these services, and then they start doing it for less. And they're in a position where it makes it difficult. And now I'll paint a different picture. Now, so Compass says, look, we're going to set this up so that you can only see these listings first with us. And let's face it, that's going to trade a lot of properties privately within their network. But then you have all the brokerages say that.
Yeah.
Coldwell Bankers.
Mm-hmm.
All these different companies come through and they say, okay, now we're going to do that. What does that mean, right? For a company like yours, now you're in a position where you're like, okay, how are we going to win in this case when these large companies? I mean, let's face it, if Compass with their acquisition just in the Illinois market, their acquisition of app properties, if they were to take on Berkshire Hathaway, I mean, they're getting very close to being in a position where they're monopolizing half the market.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have the other players who are monopolizing the other large portion of that, what do you do?
Yeah, no one knows because everyone thinks that they know what the consumer wants, and consumers always surprise us. Right? Look at the stock market. Good point. Everyone constantly thinks that like we're going to tank, and then it's like hits a new record high.
Right.
No one understands anything about dude. Like it's like everyone thinks that they want to have this ideal business model and whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the consumer. What happened when app properties tried to do this a few years ago? Remember what happened?
Drawing a blank.
They got sued up the eyeballs, man. Because what happened is the sellers were like, wait, you the whole market didn't see my house? You just sold this in-house?
Oh, you're right. Yes, I do recall that.
Wait, I sold this for 5% under?
Right.
What do you think? They're not going to get taken to through the mud when the consumers realize just how they got?
Right.
I'm not swearing this, right? That's fine.
Yeah, you can. Absolutely. I don't trust someone who doesn't swear.
Yeah. So the consumer is the golden beacon, man. Like they're the light.
Right.
So I will say it's dangerous right now that Compass has the law with just megaphone, right? And it's being talked out of by a private equity guy,
right?
That has handcuffs to people that gave him a lot of money.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's actually, I think, what a lot of people miss is that when someone's dealing with private equity, and when you're dealing with some of these circumstances, you have someone to answer to.
Yeah.
So now you're not able to focus on serving the people or your own people, for that matter.
So what I would just say is, like, if a Compass agent is watching this, for a second, stop drinking the Kool-Aid and just think for a second. What's best for your clients, honestly? Is it better to have it in-house and not to show it to the number one team that represents the most buyers? Go to a listing agreement. Ask a seller what would they prefer. What do you think they're going to say? Like, just use your brain. Like, you're getting guided by blind people that all they want is to sell out and leave you guys high and dry. That's what's going to happen.
Well, it seems like if you're not showing a property to the open market, I mean, let's face it, open markets set the price, right? That's how things are determined. So who's to say if someone markets a property and they do this? Like, I get it, right? We've had private listing network. We've had versions of this before, to where people can access properties within certain networks.
Sure.
But at the same time, it seems difficult to argue that someone's going to get the best price for their property if they're not being shown to the open market. Like, how do they know there wasn't someone else who was going to have a better deal? So I've been trying to look at it, and I always, I think there's three sides to every story.
Sure.
Right? There's this side, that side, and the right side, or however you want to put it. But as I look at that, I struggle to figure out how this would actually be absolutely in the best idea of the consumer. I'm open to that, and actually I have some people that I've talked to about it. We continue to talk to about to understand. I always want to understand, but I think you have a very good point. The consumer is going to be the one ultimately who's
Yeah.
going to have the loudest voice in all of this as they follow through and
Yeah.
what they want to do and what they want to see and how we'll see this handled with companies as they take this approach. I know this happens in business all the time, right? It's just
Mhm.
it seems fairly new, and I could be wrong on this, but it seems fairly new to see this in our industry.
Yeah, I mean, with technology moving at the pace that it has,
Mm-hmm.
money becoming monopoly money recently. Like, have you noticed, like, just
Yeah,
on the top, like, there's just, I mean, billions of dollars is like a normal thing now. I feel like,
weird.
it's a weird, like, we're starting to talk like trillions. It's like,
Yeah.
first trillion, I'm like, what the, like, that's not even real. Like, at the end of the day, like, that just doesn't make any sense. So we're in this, like, new world order, honestly, where corporations run the world. They just do.
Right.
There's people that, yeah, there's still countries and whatever, but like corporations, I mean, look at Elon Musk.
Right.
Like I think I saw like 80% of the satellites are his in flying around right now.
Insane.
The guy is, but that's one person. Like, how can one person accumulate that much wealth and influence? And he literally didn't like how the politics went, so he started creating his own party. Like when does that ever happen before? That's wild. And he owns Twitter
Right.
or X. So like he has the megaphone, right? So it's like now it's like about being the loudest voice in the room. So it's happening everywhere, right? It's this massive change. But the one thing is people will always need a house to live in, right?
Yep.
People will always want the best price and they will always want the best service,
Agreed.
right? So like all I focus on is just making sure that we service people in the right way and that we're honest and truthful so that if I can become a market leader when it comes to a thought piece and like talking about what's actually best for the consumer, then you just want to sell me my house? Like, no, this actually is best for the consumer. This is the way we need to go with, right? I have an agent from Brazil. Her name's Priscilla. She's awesome.
Okay.
And she told me she used to do real estate in Brazil. And she said that's the way that they do real estate there. Every single real estate company has their own listings. You have 10 different brokerages, 10 different listings, and you go in there and you go, what do you have? What do you have? What do you have? It's the most inefficient way to sell real estate. And it's terrible.
Yeah, you're hitting
It's
it right on the nose there.
So it's like, what's truly better for the consumer? I mean, like private equity doesn't give a shit. I mean, at the end of the day, like they don't care about the consumer. They just don't, right? It's like they just care about the money. They want, they're all like, well, I need a 20% return on this. I need to flip this ASAP, right? And you can just tell Compass is like, they're moving quickly so that they can give them that return. But what does that mean? Like it means throwing the consumer's interests down the drain long time ago. But putting it in this shell of like, this is better for you. This is what it is.
If the people are making the decision, the best way to try and influence that decision is to try and stand as an advocate for the people. Right? You say, I'm doing this for you, so they will get behind you. So it's an interesting approach. Now, also looking at that though, so switching gears a little bit here. We have obviously private equity is coming into the space.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're very present in the space. And now we're in a position where technology is becoming a big focus and how we're going to use that technology to advance things. And I think as we see this in moving into so many different industries, right? It has its threats in the real estate world.
Sure.
I could give you a very detailed breakdown on how I see the impact of AI and other various forms of technology impacting my ability to do what I do for the better, but also ultimately driving my business model, how profitable it will be, and what it would look like. And this is just completely from a business structure. So with these companies, with private equity, with tech jumping into the space so much, what are your thoughts on how they're using it and how you want to use it, and what do you think that looks like in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I truly at this point, I have no real thoughts.
Okay.
We are aggressively always implementing the best tech to empower our agents and to make sure that we are, again, nimble and we are moving as quickly as we can. I mean, we're not looking to own an AI like data set, right? Like we're not trying to build AI, we're just trying to build within AI. And it's going to either become you use it or you're out, right?
Okay.
Like, so like now it's just a matter of it's like learning this new language, right? Like understanding what is better, what is not, like how do I make this more efficient? Until a AI robot can come in and make you feel good and start feeling your emotions, I'll still have a job, right? Because real estate is about understanding emotion. It's about understanding the human being and having that connection. Right? Everything behind that connection can be AI automated, like transaction coordination, all that stuff, like for sure, right? Like those are the kind of things where I really think it can go out. But when you're talking about that face-to-face human connection, maybe in 15 years, maybe in 10 years, I don't know, right? But people have to be okay, like seeing a robot as a human and interacting with them in the same way, and they need to get that same style of emotional connection before we get knocked out. I think there's going to be a massive trimming of our industry. I really think that,
For sure.
right? I think that there's going to be a heightened efficiency modeling. I mean, look at my company, for example. We did, what is it, 280 million with less than 30 agents, right? We have made our agents 3 to 4x more productive than.
Can you say that again? 280
Yeah.
million
Yeah.
with less than 30
yeah.
agents.
Less than 30 agents.
That is very impressive.
And thank you. But it's like what I love about it is that we're showing that like with the right tools and the right support and the right people, you can make somebody 3 to 4x more efficient, right?
Okay.
So we're not growing because there's so much more inventory. We're growing because we're eating market share, right? Like that's what's happening. We're just becoming more efficient than the other realtors out there, right? And we're using that. AI is one of the tools, right? But we're using all the tools in front of us. So like, I think that people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves when it comes to like, is AI going to take my job versus make yourself invaluable, indispensable, right? And what does that mean? Make it so that a robot can't do what you do, right? If your one thing that you do is make the coffee, you're going to probably get replaced. But if you can create coffee flavors that no one's ever thought of before, right? Maybe that's where you can go and like create something that a machine just like doesn't understand or like doesn't figure out, or like creating curated coffee events. I don't know.
Maybe how you make people feel when they get that coffee from you. Maybe you're making the exact same coffee someone else is making, but you're focusing on that connection with someone and what they're looking to do.
Focus on the emotion. Robot, the last thing they're ever going to get is a true emotion. So if you focus on that piece of your job, you'll never be replaceable.
I like that. I think that's great. I really appreciate that. Now, I know I just can't let this episode go by without talking a little bit about giving back.
Oh, sure.
So I want to bring up, I mentioned boxing earlier.
Yeah, I should have brought my gloves. We should have done a few sets in here.
I don't know that I'm quite good at boxing anymore.
We do a few punches. It's okay.
I'm you know what? I'm game, actually.
Okay, cool. I'll come back.
It'll be another conversation.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your endeavors with the boxing world, what you're doing, and how that's been helping people.
Totally. So I run with my partner in that game, Ryan Cotter. It's called the Chicago Real Estate Rumble. It's this is the 12th year since its founding, and it's a riot. It's like it's like a backyard brawl basically. We invite all of the like best realtors that want to just fight and get in the ring. It's
physically fight.
Hey. But it's 3 amateur rounds, full headgear, minute and a half each. So it's like we're not talking like 12-round boxing like intensity. I mean, it certainly gets intense, but it's very amateur based, and we make it very safe, and it's an incredible thing that people have seen. They've gotten better with their health. It built this community, and the whole idea is that we've partnered with kid-based charities, underprivileged kids. This year we're last year we were with Kiki's Playhouse, which is a Down syndrome-based organization, and now we're going to be with the National Down Syndrome charity this year.
Oh, wow.
That's focused on supporting that element. It's an amazing organization, but it's all about giving back to our community, right? At the end of the day, like as realtors, we are, I call us like the welcoming committee of any community, right? Like welcoming committee of any community. So we everything we do, from selling the houses to selling the neighborhood to the presentation to the money we bring in, like we're big economic engines, and I want us to be able to really lean into that. So everything from bringing the community together to giving back to charities that will only help the community involved. It's been amazing, and we've raised over $300,000 since the founding.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot of fun. We did an LA Rumble. We tried to do a Detroit Rumble this year. It didn't pan out, but we're trying to grow, and we want to become like in 5 major cities so that we have like a title fight. So like we want to like make it into a big thing. But this year is it's going to be October 30th at Park West at 6 p.m. We have our fighter orientation in August. No, in 3 weeks we're going to be having that. But yeah, people can reach out to me if they want to sign up for it. And then we're just going to be, you know, it's funny. We do Sports Center style commercials. Like it's all about the fun and giving back.
And there's someone fighting this year that's very close to your
yeah, my
your
business
world.
partner, Brad Robbins. He's
All
going to
right.
he's going to be a title fight this year. We're still trying to find the fighter that
I was gonna say, do you know who he's fighting yet?
no one's stepping up. I mean,
Oh.
I do a lot of training videos with him on my Instagram.
Okay.
And I think it's scaring a lot of people.
No one wants to actually fight him.
The guy went almost pro in hockey, man. He's a serious beast.
Oh yeah, sounds like he's got a jaw then. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if that's really.
Yeah,
who
he's a
people want to be
fighter,
taking
man. He's
on.
a fighter. He's got that heat. He got that fire.
Speaking of your Instagram, if people want to find you, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so it's Grigory _Pekarsky. So it's GRIGORY_PEKARSKY.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining.
This is amazing, man. This is
yeah,
awesome.
I could talk for hours.
Yeah.
There's so many different things I
Yeah,
could talk
sure,
about.
sure.
I mean that really. Definitely gonna have to have you back,
Sure.
and we'll talk more. But for now, good luck with the Rumble coming up. Good luck
Thank you.
with everything out there. Maintain that #1 spot and
Let's
building
go.
everything you've built. So yeah, man, let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on.